Hello, welcome to this week's Indie Showcase. As most of you probably know, I like to play loads of demos when the indie festivals are on, and I did that for the Big Adventure event. But during that, I became aware of some other games that I thought would be a good fit for my Indie Showcase series. Some free-to-play games on Steam and a demo as well. So for the next 4 indie showcases, I am going to be taking a look at the games that I became aware of during the Big Adventure event. And this is the first one. This is called Dagon or Dagon. You're going to find out my ignorance probably throughout this. But this is, I'm going to say Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. This is basically an adaptation of a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. It's tagged as a visual novel. I don't know how much gameplay there's going to be, but I'm pretty sure there's narration. So we are going to experience this, and hopefully it's not going to be too scary for me. Now, I don't know as much about Lovecraft as I wish I did. I see Lovecraftian influences throughout so many games and so much media, but I don't know much about, anything about the source material. My knowledge of H.P. Lovecraft is that it's horrors that invoke madness or something. Things that are too difficult to comprehend, that it just makes you go mad or something. And Cthulhu. And that is the full extent of my Lovecraft knowledge. So it's going to be cool to get to experience this, because I would never read it probably. So it's actually really cool that somebody made this. And just before we start, this is developed by Golem or Golem I think. And it is free to play on Steam, and apparently it's about 30 minutes long. So if anybody does want to experience a H.P. Lovecraft novel by yourself, go ahead and play it, because you got nothing to lose. It's free to play. And if you're not bothered about playing it yourself, then just tuck yourself in and we'll see how it goes. Shall we begin? Oh no, I'm nervous. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna pronounce things wrong, I'm really sorry. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. So I think it's on the rails walking sim. Is that how you would describe it? Visual novel mostly, I think.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Oh boy. So this is somebody that is gonna die tonight? And knows that he's gonna die tonight? This is pretty. The textures and stuff. Okay, what am I doing? Can I do it? Alright, click. Ha. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Okay. So they'll be it's not all just about immersing in the story, it's some facts. Okay, cool. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. Oh, we gotta be seeing in elder signs today. It's like a brunch. I just want to cut in here and say I did not see in elder signs. We found a few, we didn't find them all, and I want to say that gives you a reason to play it yourself if you are interested in the rest of the video, because there were some cool tidbits that I missed. Alright, back to the game. Okay, I guess it means right click is focus. You can also access all the found facts later. They will be available in the main menu. Cool. Okay, so this is focus. Do I WASD it? No. I see a syringe on there. Are we just hallucinating?
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Ah, okay. So we are running out of the drug that we are on, and we are gonna kill ourselves, and that's why we're writing this. That's
Do not think
good.
from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Morphine, okay.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Oh, so is the morphine a way of coping with whatever this Lovecraftian horror is? I do keep pressing focus to see if I can find the secrets. I'm probably not going to find them all. Oh, I found one. Morphine. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War One. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Oh, so you could just go into, well, were chemists a thing then? Just go into a chemist and buy some morphine. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Saturner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. Oh, is that what Morpheus means? At the time, oh, that's why the name Morphine. I feel like I'm gonna learn so much. I'm really excited. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Alright, so they called morphine addiction or abuse soldier's disease, I guess, because soldiers maybe use it to numb themselves potentially after things that they've seen or injuries they've got and stuff. I've never experienced morphine, so I don't know. I know that it's obviously used in hospitals for pain, and it is also hallucinogenic, right? Or it can be. It's a side effect. Okay.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Okay. I was just having a thought there as well. I don't know what year this story was released, but it sounds like they said at the time of release it was like available, right? And that was before 1914. So I should have done maybe my research to find out what year. You know what? I'm gonna check. Alright, publication says 1919. So I guess it's around the time when it became, after the First World War, when it became prescription, I guess? Or regulated at least. Fell victim to the German sea raider. Is this a German sea raider? Oh, wait.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Oh goodness, I'm gonna struggle with following just the sentences because they're very descriptive. Wow, this is gorgeous, can I just say? So we are a soldier, I guess. That's why we came across what looked like a navy boat. And that's why we're on what looks like a navy boat. The ocean forces of the Hun. Don't know
So
what
that
that
our
means.
vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
like the Huns. Okay, this might give me more information. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and master of quick raids, who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27th of July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend, may the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. So, is this real? Is this based on reality? The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the first Hague Convention of 1899. Imagine, like, being given this speech, like being at war. That's scary shit. So refusal to take prisoners was a breach of the laws. Okay. But wait, so this is... That flag is what gave us this bit of fact there.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
I'm going to assume that... I mean, obviously this is fiction. I'm going to assume the whole thing is fiction, but I'm not sure. Like, as in... Oh, well, that was trivia though, wasn't it? I'm not sure. But, okay, so, right, in this... Maybe it is based on reality, but just then, obviously, a fictional story within. Okay, so, cool, but why are we captors if they weren't supposed to take captors? Why were we a captor, sorry. Okay, so we've managed to steal a boat and we have provisions.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Oh, I wonder how far we are from anything. Oh, well, there's the sun rising? No, is that the moon? That's a bright moon. Okay, I don't know where the sun is. I don't have a bearing. I also do need to make sure that I'm doing the focus thing just so that I don't miss anything.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Ah, oh yeah, the stars, yeah.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
That's a scary situation to be in. I like that it tells you, like, this is gonna move us on. Ah, wait, is the sun... No, is that still a moon?
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
That is a grim situation. I swear I hear a dog whining. It's a grim situation, but at least the seas seem to be calm enough that we are, like, not losing our supplies. Sun is there, rising. Rises in the east. So we're we're facing south-ish. Maybe. Let's hope I never end up in this situation and have to navigate. Oh my god, that all scared me. Because I'm still on the lookout for a dog. Because that's what I keep hearing. Okay.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
This is where the crazy would begin.
The change happened whilst I slept.
Uh-oh.
Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
So we're dreaming that we've woke up in Cthulhu land. Ugh.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
Ah, so this is when we've woke up and we're here. This isn't a dream. Damn it. It would be much better if this was a dream. Oh, look at the creatures. Like, it's got legs. It's got, like, crab pincers. And then it's got these, like, tentacles. Ugh.
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
Is that our boat? That's our boat. It's not that far away. It's just between these creatures and us and the boat.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I don't think anyone could disagree that you would be horrified if you woke up here. I think most people would be more horrified than astonished.
For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
It's grim, very grim.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing ordinary, is it? So it's gonna be like, what is this?
The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Oh look, it's an upside down octopus. Everything wriggling makes it so much worse. It's kind of like a millipede. Nautilus. Ah. The origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irvin S. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature, H.P. Lovecraft. Wait, what? And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. So it's inspired by this other book, by this other person, And the dream that Lovecraft had. I dreamed that whole hideous crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking me down in defense of Dagon. Oh, right. That's a quote from In Defense of Dagon. Okay. Lovecraft's interest in the topics stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what early experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. So Lovecraft hated the sea. That's funny that it's a hate, but it's also maybe a fascination, right? Because so much of his stuff is kind of based... Well, I don't know how much of it is based on the sea, but like with all the squiddy type thingies, you know, and like we're on the sea right now, and it's really like ingrained itself into his brain. This is like a woodlousey, old-fashioned sea creature-y thing. Isn't it funny how like this can come from the mind of somebody who really dislikes the sea, but then play something like Abzu, and then that's obviously got to be people who like the sea, and it's a perspective thing, isn't it? It's really interesting. Oh, we walked directly over that millipede thing.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
We were dreaming? Like, to be fair, we'll have had the sun. Oh, the ooze is moving. We'll have had the sun glaring down on us. We'll probably have a bare head, so like we've probably got sunstroke and dehydration. Look at that one.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Oh, so he thinks this is like from the depths of the ocean, the places where we probably don't know yet. Oh, that's cool.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Oh yeah, there is no ocean around us. Oh damn. Yeah, it is. It's like the ocean that we were in has rose up, I see, or like it's drained or something.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Oh yeah, no birds. Maybe we are at the bottom of the ocean with no water. That looks like a relatively, well, not just relatively, a normal looking fish. At least our supplies are here.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
That's a good plan. Shield from that sun. Oh, it is not Alyssey. Yeah. Alright, just press.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for travelling purposes in a short time.
Alright, so I'll be able to walk.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Good plan. Oh no, there's a thing on the other side of the boat. Yeah, no wonder we didn't sleep well. Let's get going.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
On the third morning? Is this the third morning of being here? Or is it the third morning since we got off the boat? Either way, that's a long time.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
I mean, it's an adventure.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Gotta look for the trivia. Oh, the creatures are getting bigger and more dead. Like, these are like fossils or bones. Is that a mouth or a foot? Ah, nice long stabby legs. Look at this mud. That looks so good. Oh, this is a whale. I thought it was a rock. That is a full-on whale. Oh, are these like spider crabs? Probably. Squelch.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
It's difficult to know what would be the correct direction to walk. But look at this. It's quite gross looking, this one. Ah. The horrors of the ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of R'lyeh was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest of depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the marina snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, that's so deep, below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. I think, though, they wouldn't be able to survive at sea level, right? Like, they are designed to live in those depths. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures such as the anglerfish, the fangtooth or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Irony? Where's the irony? Oh, because he didn't believe... Wait, the creator of Cthulhu mythos, they're talking about Lovecraft, right? Didn't believe that life could exist, so he created these creatures, and then the things he created, now that it's actually been discovered that these things live at the bottom, they're very Lovecraftian. Yeah, that is actually quite... That's good trivia. That's interesting. That's funny that he didn't actually believe things could live that deep. Okay.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
Yeah, that's how perspective works.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
I think we should walk around it, you know? Oh, there's some... Oh. Okay, it's not eyes. There's something shiny there, though. I thought we were being watched. This is so beautiful.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night,
Oh, God.
but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
So he's in this hell when he's awake, and then he's having crazy dreams as well.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again.
Worse when he's asleep.
And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
Why?
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset.
Okay, fair. That makes sense then. I did think it also has the potential to be more dangerous at night. Okay, we're gonna climb the mountain. We're gonna see what's... It doesn't look as tall from here.
Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
We're not gonna be able to see anything from the top. Aha. Oh. Oh. The Loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive, his work would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias, and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe, with an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of papers scattered across the floor. Okay. So, like, he was all social, but then he was like, I'm not gonna be social anymore. I'm gonna hide and read in the dark so that it doesn't look like I'm home. Isn't he like, though, isn't the things came out about him that he's like very questionable? I haven't done the research to know, but I'm pretty sure, didn't it get revealed that he's a bad person? I think that's what happened.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me.
Okay.
But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
Just nothingness.
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Perpendicular. Shit, I wish I knew what that meant. Does that mean that it's not as bad now that the moon's rising? We'll be able to see.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Easy? I mean, rather you than me there. Oh, look, it's a slime waterfall. A slime fall? Just don't fall, though.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
So we're gonna climb down. Cool.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
I mean, at this point, any impulse you have is just like, what else are you gonna do? Just keep moving forward. We might as well explore this place. We're gonna die anyway.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
Oh no, I'm dreading the moon rising.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Oh, there's the moon. Is it like an alien artifact?
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
The moon. No? Ah.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
It's very polished, though.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
There's someone else here.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
I mean, imagine getting to a place like this where it seems like no one's ever been. It's literally as if we're at the bottom of the sea and finding something that looks man-made.
For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith.
I think monolith was the word I was thinking of, but I'm not sure what it means.
Whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Not necessarily man-made, eh?
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Imagine discovering basically alien species. There's definitely nothing else, is there? I want to get all the trivia. Oh, a pond.
Now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
Ooh. Let me just have a little look about. So we found some water, and then the monolith has a drawing on it, and there's like whales at the bottom, and then there's like skulls, and then there's mermaids, and then there's the sea surface, and then there's like regular sea creatures, I guess. Oh, is this saying like the top half of that's like just the part of the sea that we know? Like there's turtles, seahorses, sharks, squids, all that kind of thing. And then there's like another layer. And then underneath that is all this other stuff.
And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Just check, there's nothing. To be able to get closer, we would have to go in the water, and I do not trust this pond right now.
The writing was in
fine.
a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Okay. Not getting a good view of the middle piece. I'm gonna guess that's Cthulhu. At least there's a squid face.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
These are like what's in our sea.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world. But whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
This? Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings, at the Mountains of Madness and the Nameless City. I guess there are other examples where he did that. Journals and character notes. 2 examples: The Shadow Out of Time, The Haunter of the Dark. Islands emerging from the ocean, like in Call of Cthulhu. Or fictional beings and deities? I don't know how you say that word. Based on real events and mythologies, such as Migo in The Whisper in Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also include some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude, not include, in a manner similar to Dagon. But let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending. Okay. That's cool. So this story is considered the origin of Cthulhu?
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré.
Bas-reliefs? What's a doré?
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men.
Mermen.
Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips.
Look at that one on the right. That one's cool. That one.
Glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
So these mer things are the size of a whale.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe.
Yeah, that's definitely what you would come to, isn't it?
Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
That's the conclusion I would come to, I think. I guess it's hard.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist.
I think it's hard to represent this as a visual because part of the idea of it being like a horrifying novel thing is the fact that you just get a vague description and then you got to make the image yourself in your head. But I like seeing people's ideas of it.
I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Oh no, what? Something's emerging.
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Oh god.
Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then.
Oh.
Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Ah, so this happened and then we GTFO'd all the way back. Okay, I guess we are going because of what we'd seen. That wasn't the mer people, that had legs.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
We are tripping.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital. Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
So it's changed this person, but also it's probably not real. Just have a little look around. Although I think we can only get things when the dialogue's finished. Like now. There we go. The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. Oh, really? In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. However, Howard. Oh, H.P. Lovecraft Howard? I never knew his name. Was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again, for the first time since his teenage years. Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories he written during that period. In this example excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. So this is what he wrote in his journalism. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and the proper time to take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. That's true. Yeah. Alright, wait. I don't know what the dots mean. No country is, or ever can be, above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. That is a very true statement and very well written. Like, ideal world, war is dumb. I hate war, it's the stupidest thing. But there is no way that you can possibly not think about it as a country leader or whatever, because like there's always somebody, and as long as there's even one person that is thinking about it, or one country or whatever, then you have to think about it. Interesting. But yeah, he didn't like the criticism that he would get from that, so he went back to writing weird fiction. Interesting. He has an interesting mind. Nobody can deny that. I mean, I don't suppose anybody would deny that. Oh. In defiance of Dagon. In defense, sorry. Oh, we read an excerpt of this before, right? In 1921, Lovecraft released a series of 3 essays. The defense reopens, the defense remains open, and final words. Later published as a collection titled In Defense of Dagon, in which he rebuked a series of criticisms directed at his works. Some notable quotes. I paint what I dream, and I will let the public settle the rest among themselves. Mr. Munday asks the raison d'etre of Dagon, I don't know what that means. I will give it, purely and simply to reproduce a mood. Is that like the purpose of Dagon? Its object is the simplest in all art, portrayal. So it's a mood piece. The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unprecedented, hardly have a bearing on the entirely different realm of supernatural terror. Ghosts are still ghosts. The mind can get more thrills from unrealities than from realities. Okay. I find both scary. I don't understand. The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unprecedented, hardly have a bearing on the entirely different realm of the... I don't think you can compare the two, really, but okay. In the essays, Lovecraft touches upon the topics of atheism, materialism, the quest for truth, and the love of science. Interesting. So I guess if there's any Lovecraft fans out there that want to hear some stuff that he's wrote, these are some things you could probably find somewhere, these essays. This has been an interesting thing. What happens next? So we were found in the ocean.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist.
I don't know what that is.
And amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon.
Dagon.
The fish god.
Of course it's Dagon when I've been saying Dagon. Dagon. Ah. Okay. The fish god. Dagon. Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. Oh, the rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as a judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. Oh. So he's not even a fish god, he's just mistaken for that. Okay. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones. Okay, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. That's what jumped out of the water, right? He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Huh. So this is a thing that runs throughout Lovecraft's works then, I guess. It's not just in one story. Oh, okay, so that's to move on. Any more? So there's some origin anyway. So it makes sense why he chose that, because they get mistaken for a fish god. And, you know, with the heavy underwater influence.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
He didn't believe. Oh, I got an achievement called Cosmic Horror Scholar. Did I find all of the thingies? Maybe. Right, August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Oh, so he's a writer and a publisher, I guess. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of the most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic. This guy, okay. So, right. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. Oh, as a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. Oh, so the publisher, after Lovecraft died, added new things into his work and changed the meaning of it? Wow. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane after he died. Oh. So maybe it's more this guy that turned it into a cult. Like, not classic, that's not the word called classic, like a cult thing. Like, not a cult. You know what I mean? Like a thing. It's curious about what might have happened, like, if Lovecraft had a say in this, which he doesn't. The marketer. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. Oh, okay. Right, from an ad for Curtis Woodwork. Oh, okay, so Lovecraft wrote this ad. Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivances of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers, buffets, and cupboards. Buffet? I don't know what that is. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship which energetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost, considering the high quality, is amazingly low, and a trademark on the individual pieces prevents any substitution by careless contractors. That's a wordy advert. I don't know how adverts were back in those days, but it's very wordy. Ah, and there's a source. Somebody who, I guess, was documenting Lovecrafty stuff. I don't know if that's a good ad or not for the time. But I probably wouldn't read it unless I was specifically looking for a woodworker. Ah, there's the forward. So we didn't get anywhere with the guy that we went to try and make sense of it all. Hence the morphine, I'm gonna guess. Ah, I see. Ah, did you see the little branch in the clock? I bet I've missed some actually. The scientist. These days the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. Oh, so the word scientist wasn't a common thing back then? After the author used it in the story, critics pointed out that man of science was more appropriate term to employ. He admitted in the essays that he wrote that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase that they suggested. Ah, okay. I don't remember how the word scientist was used. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet in the 19th and early 20th century, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Oh. Among other things, it was gender specific, indicating that science was an endeavour to be pursued by only one sex. That is old-fashioned. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. I've never heard of man of science. I haven't heard of man of letters either. Is that an author? So women weren't supposed to write either? They probably, didn't really want to compare it to artists so much back then maybe, but scientist is a much better word. This is so interesting. I'm learning so much stuff. Have you got any sneaky branches on you? Okay. Don't see any more. I've probably missed some. I bet we're dreaming about everything still.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave.
So as a result, I mean, it seems very much like a PTSD thing as well. He's used morphine to try to cope, and then he's just became addicted to morphine. This, what was it called? The Soldier's something.
So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Oh, that's sad. Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced in his letter to Zelia Brown in 1928. So this is after he got into advertising as well. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Excited? Let the herd do what they will. I'm rather in favour of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as any other. What? Okay, words are hard. I don't understand, except that I see he's saying he doesn't like alcohol because he doesn't like how it changes. Yeah, I guess. Like it dulls you down or whatever. Does that mean he's in favor of banning it? Not sure. So he didn't like alcohol and tobacco. Okay. Fine. I feel like I've learned a lot about Lovecraft today.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed. Worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind.
Oh, that is cool.
Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Look at that. Ooh. Ooh, how cool.
The end is near.
So he lives in fear of that. Oh. Excuse me? Oh. The ocean gods are living rent-free in our brain.
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Oh no. Now this could be the morphine. Ooh. Is it gonna push us out the window?
It shall not find me.
Oh. Oh.
God, that hand!
Oh.
The window! The window!
Oh my god. I guess we're gonna go. Oh dear. He didn't write that bit, did he? That's cool. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games and DLCs. As if there's DLCs. The Eldritch Box. A little glass bottle. That was so good. I really liked it. Ooh, I like the end. Because like we'd finished writing at the end. Oh no, we did. We said there was something knocking on the door, right? But that could have like that's such a cool dilemma because it literally does sound like sunstroke and then PTSD and then being high. But how would you ever if it was real, you know what I mean? How would you ever convince anybody? Guess if we had someone with us, that would confirm. Like, we would need someone to be in that room with us right then and see if the door was actually banging and if the sea people were real. I don't feel like they were, but that's part of the horror, isn't it? Where it's like psychological. That's real cool. Okay, that was Dagon. Apologies for the Dagon. Of course, it didn't tell us until the end how to actually pronounce it. That was good. I really liked it. It's exciting to have like experienced some actual Lovecraft. And that feels kind of like it's an origin, right? Because he wrote that when he started getting back into weird fiction, and now I know some stuff about the guy himself as well, so very interesting. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I really did. And that was the first of the games that I discovered during the Big Adventure event. Once again, it's free to play on Steam. If anybody wanted to play it themselves, or recommend it to a friend who they know likes Lovecraft. And yeah, I will see you again next week for another one of the games that I discovered the other week. So see you very soon. Bye bye.